Have you ever looked at a crypto project and just gotten completely mixed signals? I mean, on one hand, you see all this incredible news, just one win after another. But on the other hand, the price chart looks like it's taken a nosedive off a cliff. Well, that's the puzzle of Stellar, or XLM, in a nutshell. And today, we're going to unpack it and see if we can make any sense of what's going on.
And this slide really lays out the conflict perfectly. The price story? It's honestly pretty bleak. It's down a whopping 75% from its peak, stuck in a long-term downtrend. But then you look at the news story, and it's phenomenal. Stellar has official commodity status in the US. It's got partnerships with absolute giants like Franklin Templeton and MoneyGram, and its long-awaited Soroban smart contracts are finally live. I mean, these two stories, they just don't seem to belong to the same project, do they?
So, that leads us to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. What is going on here? Why is there this massive disconnect? Is the market missing something huge, or is all this fantastic news just not enough to save a project that's fading away? Let's dig in.
All right, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with the harsh reality. Let's look at that price chart and the technical data, because, it tells a very, very clear and very bearish story.
So, looking at the technical snapshot, wow, what really stands out is just how one-sided the data is. Based on projections for March 2026, every single trend signal, we're talking short, medium, and long-term, is rated a brutal 0 out of 10. The price is just trapped below its key moving averages, and that critical resistance level around 20 cents, it feels miles away. From a purely technical viewpoint, there is just no way to sugarcoat it. The picture is rough.
And let's just hammer this point home for a second. We're not talking about some recent dip here. We're talking about being 75% below a peak that was set way back in 2018. For anyone who's held XLM for the long haul, this has been a really painful ride. It begs the question, why hasn't it recovered when so many other projects have?
But what if that price chart isn't telling the whole truth? One theory is that we might be seeing something called smart money traps. This is the idea that the big institutional players, the so-called smart money, are deliberately creating misleading price action. Why? To trick retail traders like us, which lets them load up their bags or dump their positions at much better prices.
And this isn't random. It's practically a playbook. They might engineer fake breakouts to trap eager buyers, or go stop hunting to deliberately trigger people's stop losses and force them out. Or maybe they create these weak, low-volume rallies that look good but are just a setup for a big drop. And then there's the classic, just holding the price in a painfully boring range to shake out anyone who gets impatient. When a chart seems to completely ignore amazing news, you gotta wonder if some of these shenanigans are at play.
Okay, enough of the depressing price chart. Let's do a complete 180 and look at the other side of Stellar, the side that seems to live in a totally different universe from the market, where the project is just absolutely firing on all cylinders.
And this timeline just perfectly shows that momentum. In early 2024, Soroban's smart contracts finally launched, which was huge, bringing DeFi to the network. Fast forward to 2025, and the value of real-world assets tokenized on Stellar just explodes past $1 billion. And then the big one. Projected for March 2026, it gets classified as a commodity in the US. And on the very same day, Europe's biggest asset manager, Amundi, announces a $100 million fund on the network. These aren't just small wins, These are game-changing, tectonic shifts.
The CEO of the Stellar Development Foundation, Danelle Dixon, she called the commodity ruling an important step for builders, institutions, and the adoption of public blockchains. And she is spot on. This isn't just a feel-good headline, it's regulatory clarity. It takes away this massive question mark that has kept so much cautious institutional money sitting on the sidelines for years.
Now, to put all this in perspective, let's compare Stellar to its famous sibling, XRP. They were both co-founded by Jed McCaleb, and they're both about payments, but their paths went in totally different directions. Stellar is a nonprofit focused on individuals and making finance accessible. Ripple is a for-profit giant aiming squarely at big banks. But here's the kicker. Stellar already has its smart contract platform Soroban live and running. XRP's is still being developed. And yet, look at that massive gap in market cap. XRP is valued at over 20 times more than XLM. Why? Well, it's likely because Ripple spent years building deep connections with legacy banks, while Stellar went for more of a grassroots, developer-first approach. So you've got this brutal price chart on one side and this string of massive institutional wins on the other. It's really no surprise that when you ask analysts what's coming next, you get some wildly different answers. I mean, just look at the range for 2026. The bear case sees XLM just continuing to bleed out all the way down to 10 cents. The base case sees, a modest recovery to around 35 cents. But the bull case? Whoa. It sees all that institutional news finally hitting home and rocketing the price to over $1. This isn't just a small difference of opinion. This reflects a deep, fundamental uncertainty about what this thing is actually worth.
And that uncertainty, it just gets wider over time. More conservative models, like the one from CoinCodex, see XLM basically treading water through 2030, stuck under 40 cents. But the more aggressive analysts over at Coinpedia, they see a future where Stellar grabs a real slice of the global payments pie, pushing the price somewhere between $5 and $7. I mean, those two outcomes could not be more different. They're in completely different solar systems.
So let's try to bring this all together. We've seen the bleak chart and the spectacular fundamentals. The core decision for anyone looking at Stellar really comes down to which one of these two stories you think is going to win in the end.
This is really the ultimate question, isn't it? For XLM to hit that magic $1 mark, its market cap would need to climb to around $33 billion. That's about 6 times what it is now. So it's not impossible, but it would take a very specific set of things to happen. At the end of the day, there are 2 very clear paths forward. The bullish path to $1 and beyond is that the new commodity status unlocks a spot ETF, real institutional money follows Amundi's lead and pours in, and the Soroban DeFi ecosystem creates genuine organic demand for the XLM token. The bearish path? Well, it's that history just repeats itself. The big news comes and goes, but the price doesn't budge, and Stellar just gets lost in the shadow of its bigger competitors.
And that really leaves us with this final question to chew on. Is all this incredible real-world adoption, from MoneyGram all the way to Franklin Templeton, a massive secret that the market just hasn't woken up to yet? Or is it a really compelling story that, for whatever reason, the price is just destined to ignore forever? That right there is the billion-dollar question for Stellar.